here we go. June live stream. Look fucking ridiculous. My hair sticking up like this. Tried to comb it before going live, but my hair, as usual, doesn't seem to want to cooperate. And this sticking up too. So got a fan right next to me, blowing in my face because the house isn't hot. We do have the AC on today. It's hot yesterday though. This room particularly gets pretty hot when there's no AC on a hot day. It's not comfy, but at least today the house is nice and cool. Alright. Wait for people to come on in soon, hopefully, maybe. See that there's one person here. Hello, Robert. How's this Friday treating you? Maybe I should preface with if anyone here is banging in the background. Oh, it shouldn't be that noticeable, but if at some point you do hear some banging, my neighbor is having her roof done, and the houses here are connected to each other. So the neighbor right next to us is having her roof done. Just about a month after we got our roof done. I don't think I've ever shared this on this channel. I shared it in my Discord server around the time it happened. We had to get our roof replaced a month ago because there was a hole in the roof. There was a hole there for years. We just didn't do anything about it until last month because my mom's room, which was directly below that hole, her ceiling collapsed because of all the water that accumulated in that hole over the years. So, yeah, that wasn't fun at all. Had to spend the night, me and my uncles and her, cleaning up her room, the mess the ceiling made. That was fixed though. We got the roof fixed, or we got the roof replaced rather, within a few days' time, and also her ceiling got patched up and repainted. So, thankfully, the recovery process on that was pretty quick. But still, that was pretty fucking bad. And me and my neighbor are not the only ones to get our roofs done either. Some other neighbors here in the circle have also got their roofs done because the houses we live in are pretty fucking old. They're all over 50 plus years old. Built in, I think, 1970, I believe. So around 54 years old. So all of us are on the same time. Had to get our roofs replaced or get our roofs done. It's kind of funny. I'm alright, you? I'm doing alright. Don't really have much going on today. Like most days, really. Don't have much going on, but that's just the way things are. Hello, Weed Greatness. How are you doing? I was actually binge watching your older content earlier. What, the Meverse videos? Yeah, I was in the last few months with the 10-year anniversary creeping up. I've been rewatching those old Meverse videos, and yeah, they're cringe. I don't think anyone will dispute that. I certainly don't, but it was still kind of entertaining to watch, at least to see how far I've come. You know, I think I'm a lot better at this video making shit than I was back then, where I was just growling at the camera or speaking very insecurely because I wasn't used to speaking into a camera at that point. You know, I was all quiet and soft spoken, fumbling over my words a lot more than I usually do, or a lot more than I do these days. But you know, that's every YouTube channel, I suppose. You know, not everyone hits it right out of the park from the very beginning. I've never had any inclination to take those videos down, though. I think I've had some people throughout the years being like, "God, those were my videos. I would have taken those down years ago." And I'm like, I guess I have no shame. And plus, I mean, again, those videos weren't good videos, but they're still they still have a lot of meaning to me, since those were the videos that kickstarted this channel, attained me an audience initially. I don't know how many people from the Meverse days even still watch me, but even still, it's what initially got me an audience, and they're nostalgic in a way, a little bit. I love your new YouTube profile picture. Very good cartoon. I love old homes. Well, I love Courage the Cowardly Dog, my favorite cartoon of all time. Um, I think I've said this before, but I didn't make that profile picture, the one with Courage the Cowardly Dog. Just apathetically standing in front of a fire background. I don't know who made it. I completely forget where the fuck I got that picture from. This isn't the first time I've used this profile picture for this channel. I first used this back in 2016, 2017. I think it was 2017. I found it somewhere on Google because I wanted to use a Courage profile pic. Because before that, before using this profile pic the first time, all I had for profile pictures for this channel was my me that I used for Meverse, and by 2017, I was already done with having Meverse be the main focus of this channel. I didn't want a profile picture that made it seem like Meverse was still the primary topic on this channel. So I wanted to use the Courage. I wanted to use Courage the Cowardly Dog, but I found that picture on Google, and I've tried reverse image searching it recently because I think someone asked me where I got it from, and I couldn't find any results besides this channel. It's too bad. I wish I could give credit to whoever originally made it. I remember you had this pic in 2017. Yeah, yeah, that's when I first started using this picture. 2017. A year that is now somehow 7 years ago. What the fuck? I mean, it still bends my mind that I've been making YouTube videos for 10 years. Never stopped. So many people from around the time I started, you know, a lot of friends of mine were, a lot of online friends, I mean, were making YouTube videos, and they've long since stopped. A lot of them have, you know, I'm the only one that is still making videos. I assume the rest of them, have since gotten lives, and I haven't, so I'm still here. I watched the old La Mona Lisa rants. Did you know that she had another kid with her new man back in March? Oh, well, no, I didn't. I haven't been keeping up with La Mona Lisa for years at this point. I just kind of assumed she dropped off the face of the earth because last I heard she deleted her YouTube channel. At least that's what people in the comments, those old videos have said. I guess she has since reemerged, but no, I don't. I don't. I don't pay attention to her anymore. Unless she I don't know. I don't think I'll ever speak about her on this channel again, unless she shoots this new boyfriend, like she did with her, like she did with the previous one. It's kind of gross how so many people give me shit, even to this day, for those videos. You know, they say, well, it wasn't her idea in the first place, it was her boyfriend's idea, so why are you lambasting her for a stupid idea that wasn't even hers? Like, a grown woman doesn't have the agency to say no to something so fucking stupid. They weren't using a simple fucking pistol. They were using a goddamn magnum and thinking an encyclopedia would stop a bullet from that. So no, even to this day, I don't have any regrets with being harsh towards her because, yeah, sure, it wasn't initially her idea. Yeah, sure, she had her reservations, but she still went through with the stupid idea, knowing that it was a stupid idea, and with the stakes being so high because she just had a kid with him, and she had another kid on the way at the time that he was the father of. So one kid barely remembers their father, and the other kid, never got to know their father because their father was a dumbass and prioritized YouTube views over, actually being a fucking father. And, their mother just going through with such an obviously stupid idea. So, yeah, I don't think it's unfair to, lambast both of them equally. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe if I made the video today, I wouldn't have said certain things like, "Oh, she's a view whore" or shit like that. Dumb misogynist shit like that. But I would still give her shit for going through with that idea. So again, no, I don't have any regrets when it comes to lambasting her. Hello, hero of what? How are you doing? Throwback profile pic, indeed. You're a Led Zeppelin fan. I like their music too. My dad like it to my profile picture is my unicorn fur persona someone made me. Okay. Uh, I like Led Zeppelin. I mean, obviously, I've been a big fan of Led Zeppelin since I was a little kid. I have all their albums on vinyl. Quite a few of those albums being original pressings too, from the 70s, or in the case of uh, Zeppelin 1, the late 60s. Not going to be able to be in the stream this time, but me and my buddy Landon are smoking weed right now. Cheers. Yeah, I figured you're probably smoking weed right now. Also, happy 10 years on YouTube. Thank you. Again, it's very surreal that I've been doing this shit for 10 years. Again, I remember a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but some online friends of mine were making content back then, and pretty much all of them have long since stopped making content, but here I am, still here. The power went out for a bit here around an hour ago. It's been a while since we've had a power outage here. Not even during some crazy storms we've had in the past few years, the power went out. So that's good, I suppose. Well, at least you got your power back within a relatively short amount of time, presumably. The only major power outage during my lifetime, actually two. There was the one in, was it 2004? New York City had a major power outage. All throughout the city, power went out. I don't remember that at all because I was 3 at the time. So, but the only outage I remember that lasted a substantial amount of time, at least, was Hurricane Sandy back in, was it 2012? Yeah, I just started middle school around that time. Our power here went out during that hurricane for like a day. The whole neighborhood. The longest I've ever went without power. Which, we got off lucky. There are people who were without power for a much longer time after that storm. But thankfully, we got our power back pretty quickly. It was just a day without power. I've had thoughts here and there about making videos again. Well, if your heart's set in it, go right ahead. Do it. Well, it depends on if you really do want to make videos again. I mean, when I started, I sure as shit didn't think I'd be doing this for 10 years. Like I said in my anniversary video, when I got unbanned from Miiverse that first time, I thought that would be it. I thought I wouldn't get in trouble again with the admins. I was gonna try to be more careful, but clearly I wasn't more careful after that first ban, because I eventually ended up getting console banned. Or at least I think it was a console ban I got. I don't know. I got completely fucking barred from using any online service on my Wii U. But by the time that happened, I was barely using my Wii U anymore, so I really didn't care that much. But yeah, I thought that was going to be the end, but clearly I still had fun making the videos. And again, these videos have helped quite a bit when it comes to confidence with my voice. Like before I started making videos, I fucking hated my voice. I couldn't listen to any video someone else would take of me speaking in them, or any recording of me speaking in it. That shit would just make me cringe, and that's kind of why I just growled at the camera at first. I think at the time, people asked me, why the fuck are you just growling at the camera? Why don't you just speak in the videos? And I'm like, oh, well, I mean, I want to do something different. I feel like if I actually did speak in the videos and rant in them, I would be copying OBA, which, I mean, that was just an excuse to just not say that I had no confidence when it came to my voice. But now I like my voice. A lot of people. My voice seems to have a lot of seems to bring out a lot of polarizing opinions among people. Some people say they really like it. Some people say it's really pretentious, and you know, I sound like a Wojak or some shit. But I personally like my voice, and these videos have helped a lot when it comes to confidence surrounding that. So that's all that really matters to me. I don't keep up with her either, but I heard it. It's true, she posted about it on her current channel. Well, that's a YouTube channel I don't think I'll ever be watching, because I'd rather not pay attention to someone who, you know, someone who would go through with such a fucking stupid idea. But enough harping on about that. I'm sure all of you know my opinion on that incident, because I've made it so clear throughout the years. Led Zeppelin is my dad's favorite band. I'm pretty sure my dad likes Led Zeppelin, but I don't think he really listens to them all that much. It's just a band that he enjoys and listens to, every so often. He definitely doesn't like them as much as I do. My dad actually likes a lot of like post grunge and new metal bands. When I was a kid, his favorite band was Slayer, but now Slayer is a close second behind Slipknot for him. It's probably sacrilegious to some people watching this, but I could never get into Slipknot. Never get into Korn either. I'm just when it comes to like a new metal shit, I'm very selective. I'm not a big fan of the genre or the subgenre a whole lot. I just like the usual bands that people list out, like System of a Down. That seems to be most people's exception when it comes to new metal. But I do unironically enjoy some Limp Bizkit, although in that case, it's music I know it's music I know is shit, but it's fun. So more of a guilty pleasure kind of thing. Definitely not the same shit I made before. What kind of videos are you interested in making if you were to ever uh, make videos again? I remember reading there was a major blackout in the Northeast in NYC in 2003. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. 2003 it happened, not 2004, and it wasn't just NYC that was affected either. It was I don't know if it was the whole Northeast, but definitely a lot of the Northeast blackout of 2003. What areas were affected? Northeastern U.S. and southern Canada also. Canada was also affected, or part of it at least. Rolled across much of the Northeast from Detroit to New York City on a humid, hot Thursday in August 2003. And I'm kind of glad I was too young to fucking remember that day. I would have been 2 at the time, August 2003. I'm also kind of glad I was way too young to remember 9/11. I was only 6 months old when it happened. Snarls. You know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. I liked Slipknot for a while, and I've liked Korn since 2018. Yeah, I just never cared for either band. Like, my dad told me he really, really loves Slipknot. Again, it's his favorite band of all time. So because of that, even before I started speaking to my dad again, I tried out Slipknot because I just wanted to know the hype, but I just can't get into the music. I just never really cared for them. I really got into Slipknot when I was 13. Probably shit posts. I see. 2015, Mikey, you're back. Well, more like 2014. I don't think I was doing any of the growl videos by 2015. But yeah, with the anniversary having just happened, the 10-year anniversary, I've been watching some old Meverse videos. Mostly the ones that, got a decent amount of views, like some of the some of the admin rants, or there was one video that somehow got over 10,000 views where I was showing some kid getting mad that people don't like FNAF, or another video that somehow got over 10,000 views where me and, like, I don't know, 5 other friends were arguing with some kid that got mad over my opinion on Minecraft. To this day, I don't know how videos like those got over 10,000 views, but they did. Did you hear Saviors by Green Day? Somehow I haven't. I don't know why I've been slacking on listening to that album. I've heard the singles, like The American Dream is Killing Me, and I enjoyed them. Definitely, the album definitely seems to be a good return to form after whatever the fuck Father of All was. Yeah, that was a very painful album that I don't plan on hearing ever again. But yeah, I should definitely listen to the album one of these days. I was just talking to someone on a Discord the other day about Green Day DMs. The post American Idiot Green Day seems kind of lackluster though, kind of like hit or miss. This is probably a very unpopular opinion. I never cared about 21st Century Breakdown. I mean, I do like some songs off of the album, but to me, the album was always just kind of a, inferior American Idiot, the band trying to, replicate American Idiot when I think it was pretty obvious that they had one, great rock opera album in them. They got that out of their system, and it ended up being their biggest album. So obviously they wanted to try to replicate that success, and they tried to do that with 21st Century Breakdown. And to an extent, I'd say it probably worked since it had 21 Guns, one of their biggest singles. Never cared for that song either. And then you had the trilogy, which I mean, I didn't like the trilogy that much either. I don't outright despise the trilogy like a lot of people seem to. It had some good stuff thrown in here and there, but it was also layered in with a lot of shit. Revolution Radio was actually pretty good. I liked that album. And then you had Father of All, which again, I do not know what the band was thinking with that album. And I hear Saviors is pretty good, so maybe I'll enjoy that one. But so far, when it comes to like post American Idiot Green Day, it's really just Revolution Radio I care about. But I'm sure Saviors will probably also be an album that I like. Whenever I hear it. It's pretty good in my opinion. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I'm glad I'm glad Father of All wasn't a permanent trajectory the band was going in. Oh god, that kid. Which kid? The Five Nights at Freddy's kid or the Minecraft kid? I should listen to that album too at some point. Yeah, I thought for sure I'd listen to the album like the day of, or at least a few days after the release, and I was like, yeah, I'll listen to the album just whenever I feel like it. But that we're in June now, and the album came out in what, January? Yeah, I've really been slacking when it comes to listening to that album, and I really, really should, get on top of listening to it one of these days. I also like this band called Bound Alive. They're from New Jersey, and not many people know them. They just released a new song. There are probably plenty of local bands here in NYC that are really good that I probably should listen to. I just haven't really paid that much attention to the local music scene or anything like that. Again, I should. I'm probably, missing out on some really good bands that, deserve attention but just don't have any. The Minecraft kid, I still remember what he said to Raven. I'm hoping he actually was a kid. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna repeat some of the gross shit he said in those comments here, but yeah, that was yeah. I do hope the guy was a kid also. when they were writing those comments because Jesus fucking Christ. Speaking of Miiverse, I've heard that someone brought this up in my Discord. Um, since Elon took public likes away, you can't see who liked a Twitter post anymore. Um, People have been spamming replies to tweets with a picture of the yeah button from Miiverse, which is funny. I guess it's nice to know that Miiverse wasn't totally forgotten. Never using Twitter. Oh, wait, I mean X ever again. Yeah, I don't plan on posting there either. I've been having fun on Blue Sky. But to tell the truth, I don't really care that much that Elon took public likes away. I've never been one to really go on someone's profile and look at the post they liked anyway. So I can live without that. I mean, it sucks for the people who do care about what they're, what the people who they follow like, but me personally, that's just something I've never really given a shit about. But since you can't see what other people like on Twitter anymore, that means I can like whatever I want. Oh yeah, today's Flag Day. Forgot about that day. Anyone here remember that it's Flag Day today? Yeah, that's totally a day that means a lot to me. I'm gonna hop off. Sorry if it was brief. Got some work to finish up. Y'all take care. It's all right. See ya. It's nice having you here, hero. Have you ever heard a song called "Loser" by Beck? I found it recently. I think it's good. That is the only Beck song I can name. I hear Beck is good, but I just only know that song because presumably it's his biggest song. Again, I don't know another Beck song to save my life. Maybe I would recognize other Beck songs if I were to hear them, but that's just the only one I know off the top of my head. But yes, I have heard that song, and I do like that song. It's not a song that I listen to all the time or anything. I mostly just hear it if it happens to be on the radio or playing in a store or something like that. Speaking of the radio, there used to be a really good alternative radio station here in New York that whenever I was in the car, I'd uh I'd put on and listen to. Well, not every time, but pretty often when I'd be in a car, I'd put on that station. And it had a lot of variety. It didn't just play like, 90s alternative or anything like that. It even played some newer stuff that I wouldn't have known existed had it not been for that station. But they since got rid of that station, like maybe around 2 years ago now. Replaced it with with a new station that was already on AM radio, but now it has an FM station. They replaced that alternative station, which again, really unfortunate because I liked that station. Played a lot of really good shit. Now I'm just back with the classic rock station that's here in NYC that plays the same songs over and over and over and over again. And it's an old car too, so stuff like Bluetooth and playing songs from your phone isn't an option. My parents raised me on Q104.3 station. Yeah, that's the station I'm talking about. Classic rock station. Well, what gave me my taste in music was my father's computer. I used to love using Windows Media Player on his computer, and I used to like looking at the cool visualizations that that were available um, on that app or on that software. And he had a lot of classic rock and he had a lot of metal on there too. Mainly like the rock stuff. And that's how I got into a lot of bands like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Rush, the Beatles, and all the bands that I'm really into today. He had an enormous library of music on his computer. Well, he used to pirate his songs. He used to download his music off of LimeWire, an old piracy software. Thoughts on Foo Fighters? I don't really listen to Foo Fighters. Probably should. In my area, I listen to a classic rock station called 97.1 The River and a variety station called 103.7 Chuck FM. Yeah, well, whenever I am in a car, I usually put on that classic rock station that that I mentioned before. There's another rock station that we kind of get reception of. It's out in Long Island, so a lot of the times when, you know, my mom was driving and I put that station on, it's just static. But in the rare occasions I do hear something from that station, it's also pretty good. That station also has quite a bit of variety. But again, it's in Long Island, so can't get the best reception here. They got some really good stuff like Walk and Everlong. Yeah, I've heard both. Well, I've heard Everlong. I know that. Maybe I've heard Walk. Speaking of Long Island, check out a song called Montauk by Bayside. I am assuming that's a band um, that's from Long Island, maybe. Yeah, they sing about a town in Long Island called Montauk. Uh, is the band actually from Long Island? I have some family out in Long Island. Um, I have a aunt and uncle who live there, and their kids were my cousins. Well, not all of them live in Long Island anymore. Well, at least one of them. One of them moved somewhere upstate New York. Well, that cousin specifically, I was really close to when I was a kid. The one that moved upstate. It's too bad. Ever since I started talking to my father again, I've never had the chance to see that cousin. He's on my father's side of the family. Um, Again, we remember playing with him a lot when we were kids. We got along really well. But every family gathering we've had ever since I started talking to my father again, um, that cousin hasn't been able to come, which again is unfortunate because that's the cousin I talked to the most when I was a kid, at least on my father's side of the family, because he was the he was the he was the cousin that was around my age. He was only a year older than me. They're from Bayside, Queens, NYC, which is where they got their name. Should have figured. Again, I don't really know much about the local music scene here in NYC, but I'm sure it's um, very prevalent since it's NY fucking C, a big city. I'm sure there's a big music scene here. I would love to go to Long Island one day. Yeah, I mean, I've been to Long Island several points in my life. It's nice, I suppose. At least the parts I've been to are my family, where some of my father's family is. But the people I mentioned specifically, my aunt and uncle who live out in Long Island. I think I mentioned this before, but that uncle is a Trumper, unfortunately. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? A lot of my father's side of the family is pretty conservative, except for my father. He's a pretty progressive guy. But one of my cousins, not the one I mentioned, one of the oldest one out of uh, out of the three kids they had. Um, is a cop, so my uncle has this really big flagpole in front of his house that has a thin blue line flag on it. Ugh. But again, what are you gonna do? Last time I was in NYC at all was to go apple picking upstate a few years ago, or NY at all. Yeah, I used to go upstate quite a bit because I had another aunt and uncle that lived up in lived up upstate. Well, the aunt I'm blood related to, the uncle no, just by marriage. Same thing with the aunt and uncle out in Long Island. I'm related to the aunt, but not blood related to the uncle. Well, the uh, the aunt and uncle that lived upstate when I was a kid, they're living upstate again. They for a few years they moved down to Florida, where my grandma is to take care of her. But their kid, they have grandkids now, so they wanna they wanted to move back upstate, which is where their kids are, you know help them raise their kids, and they wanted to be closer to their grandkids. I remember hearing the classic rock station WBAB in Long Island was hacked by racists in 2006. They transmitted a very racist song for 90 seconds. I'm guessing it was a white power song or some shit. Yeah, yeah, fuck that genre of music. There's this band called Thank You Scientist that I first heard in 2018. When I looked them up, I saw they were only a few towns over from me. Oh, that's cool. Again, that's why I should probably get into the local music scene here because I'm sure there are plenty of really good bands that I would really be into that probably are not far from me at all. Yeah, I was like, whoa. I bet you were. Have you ever seen them play? I should go to a concert. I've never actually seen a band play live. I was tempted to a few years ago when Green Day and Weezer were touring together. They were gonna play right. They were gonna play a show that would have been right by my house. Would have been like 10-minute drive from my house. And I was like, you know what? I should go to that. They were also touring with Fall Out Boy, who I don't listen to, but whatever. I mean, I can sit through a Fall Out Boy show to hear Green Day and Weezer. Or maybe Fall Out Boy would have been at the end and I could have walked out. They would have started playing. But I was actually tempted to get tickets for that. But then COVID hit. So That didn't happen. Haven't seen them live, only know a few of their songs. Oh, I see. Well, if they're only a few towns over, maybe you should see them live one of these days. Wouldn't be that much of a commute. My last concert was in 2019 to see Kiss in New York. Oh, well, you went to see Kiss? The twin has entered the domain. Oh, her name is Mikey as well. Oh. Welcome. How you doing? What is my least favorite video game of all time? I don't know. I don't go out of my way to play bad games. I only play shit that I know would appeal to me because I'm just like, well, what would be the point in playing a bad game? Yeah. But there are quite a few licensed games that I played as a kid that I don't like now. You know, I tried playing them again as an adult. They just don't have the same magic. There are some games, you know, from back then that I do still like the SpongeBob movie game. That game can be pretty fucking irritating at certain points though, but it's still a very solid game. But least favorite out of those licensed games I played. Ugh, I don't know. A few of them weren't that good. It used to be a licensed game I was really into that I've mentioned before. Battle for Volcano Island. It was a Nicktoons game that had SpongeBob, Danny Phantom, a bunch of other characters. And they had to stop some monster that was inside a volcano on an island or whatever. Hence why it's called Volcano Island. I played that game incessantly as a kid. Played it so many times with my father. It was a co-op game, a two-player co-op game. And it was to the point where my father was so fucking sick of the game because that would be almost exclusively what I would play back then. Essentially, it was it was my childhood Resident Evil 4, a game that I can play countless times and never get tired of. Tried playing that game again as an adult, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it that much. The magic wore off. I remember having a Nemo game back then. I still have it actually, but it's one of the games that I never played as an adult because I remember getting really fucking frustrated playing that game. I remember it being really difficult. At least as a kid, maybe if I were to play the game now, it wouldn't be that bad. But as a kid, I remember that game frustrating the hell out of me, and I never ended up finishing it. Only played a few levels. I think I got to a point where I didn't know what the fuck to do, and I just got bored of the game. So I just stopped playing it, and never played it again since. Oh, now people are starting to file on in almost an hour into the stream. Yay. So yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a definitive answer for that question, but again, I don't really go out of my way to play games I don't like, or play games that I know I won't like. Yeah, a family friend got me tickets. They're pretty good. Kiss. Well, I'm sure you already know what I think about Kiss, so I'll refrain from saying anything. I'm doing much better now. Thank you very much. And you? I'm all right. You know, nothing substantial is going on. Like every day, basically. Um, yeah. I got a dentist appointment and an eye appointment coming up. Yeah, very exciting things, I know. But the eye appointment is especially important because I don't think I've been to an eye doctor since 2021, I think. And I probably need new glasses. The SpongeBob and Friends era of Nickelodeon games was surely something. Yeah, I also had the other game that Volcano Island, I think, was a sequel of Nicktoons Unite. That was a four-player co-op game, though. I didn't play that game a whole lot. I only beat it once. Even as a kid, I liked the game, but I liked Volcano Island a lot more back then. Though I usually hear the opposite. People don't say good things about Volcano Island typically, but people have fond memories of the Unite game. That's another game I haven't played in adulthood. Maybe I should play it. I still have a copy of it. All of the licensed games that I played as a kid are sitting in a box under my bed. They're not on the GameCube rack over there. Only the games that I bought in the last few years are over there. Except the SpongeBob movie game, it's on the rack over there as well. That game I've had since I was a kid. I know damaged Big Cheese now. I'm at the castle. Perfect. The Big Cheese. Bad Luis impression, I know. Big Cheese on which game? OG RE4 or the remake? Speaking of SpongeBob, I was on the PlayStation Store earlier on my PS5 and I saw this one game that had SpongeBob and Patrick in it. It was a roller coaster game. I don't know anything about a SpongeBob roller coaster game, but I got the SpongeBob game that came out last year, Cosmic Shake. It's a it's a it's a sequel to Battle for Bikini Bottom. I thought it was alright. I think Battle for Bikini Bottom is the much better game. Should replay that one of these days. I've only played the remaster Battle for Bikini Bottom because, believe it or not, I never played it as a kid, so I have no nostalgia surrounding that game. I played the SpongeBob movie game, which was made by the same studio that made Battle for Bikini Bottom, but never played Battle when I was a kid. And of course, since I only started GameCube collecting in the past 4 years, I have no nostalgia surrounding all of the best GameCube games, which I think is probably better. That means I'm able to enjoy these games and look at them objectively with no nostalgia goggles. And even without the nostalgia goggles, without having nostalgia surrounding these games, I'm still able to really enjoy them and appreciate them for what they are. Because as you all know, the only games I had as a kid for the GameCube were just mostly shitty licensed games. You have the right to your opinion. I find Kiss to be cringy. I never listened to a single song from them in my whole. Well, then how would you know they're cringy then? Well, maybe the makeup and shit, but how would you know a Kiss song would be cringy if you've never heard of them? If you never heard a song by them? I can't believe I'm actually sticking up for Kiss. That's a first for me. I've heard some albums by them. That's how I know. I fucking hate their music. I remember playing the SpongeBob movie GBA game. It was a 2D platformer with some driving stages in the paddy wagon where you dodge stuff. The console game also has paddy wagon missions, though you're not well. Yeah, you do dodge things in those missions too, but it's mostly like time challenges or going through rings. Trust me, the ring challenges in uh, the SpongeBob movie game are more tolerable than the ones in Superman 64, at least barely. Volcano Island is the best of the four, in my opinion. Oh, yeah, there were two other ones that I completely forgot about because I've never played them. I remember playing the Battle for Bikini Bottom game, the OG game. I couldn't beat it as a kid because I was stuck in certain levels. When I got the remake, I beat it. Even though I have the remake, I've been thinking about maybe getting a copy of the OG game. It's really cheap. I mean, it was a licensed multi-plat game. The games that people aren't typically seeking out for the GameCube. So it's actually reasonably priced. Just to experience the original on original hardware, how a lot of people experienced the game as a kid. And I know there are some differences between the OG and the remake, and I've heard some people complain about certain missions in certain areas being nerfed in the remake. OG RE4, yeah. For me, the OG is still the best game, though the remake is still also very fucking great. I think I have. Well, I have actually no damage to the big cheese before, though. It's always been on normal difficulty on New Game Plus, so I have all my fully upgraded end game weapons in RE4 already equipped, so I don't really count that. I played the game on professional once on the GameCube. I should do another professional um, playthrough though. I've never actually attempted the S plus rank though on RE4 remake. You have to beat the game in less than I think 5 hours and 15 minutes, and it has to be a new game too, a new file. It can't be New Game Plus. I don't know if I have the bravery to ever try that though, because I know if I fuck up and I'm if especially if I'm like you know late to the game and I fuck up, I know I'm gonna fucking rage hard. Oh, and you have to also save less than 15 times in that run too. So that's also fun. So if you die, you're thrown all the way back to whenever your last save was. I also remember playing a 2-on-1 cart that had the GBA Battle for Bikini Bottom, also a 2D platformer, and Nicktoons Freeze Frame Frenzy. I don't think I've ever heard of whatever Freeze Frame Frenzy is. I should get more GBA games. Actually, I do want some OG Game Boy games as well. I've been thinking of maybe getting Super Mario Land. I know, just emulate it on your iPhone. Now the App Store allows emulators. I still like actually having the cart and playing it on the Game Boy player. Again, I know it's strictly just a novelty now. I mean, you could just AirPlay your iPhone onto your TV, play the game on through that. But I like authentic hardware. Though I do have the Delta app on my phone, and if there is a Game Boy game or a Game Boy Advance game I'm interested in playing, I'm interested in getting that I haven't played before. I've been thinking of just using the Delta emulator to try out the game for maybe an hour or two, see if I like it. And if I like it enough, I'll buy the cart. I've also never played a Pokemon game. I know that's kind of out of nowhere, but that's usually the biggest franchise that originated on the Game Boy. Um, I know those games I'm never gonna buy physically though. The cards for those games are ridiculously fucking expensive, and it's a franchise I'm not into, so I don't care enough to buy the cards. So if I ever do play a Pokemon game, it's probably just gonna strictly be on an emulator, unless I just really, really like the game and I want to play it. I want to get a card of it and bite the bullet and spend a ridiculous amount of money. Because of its name, it sounded like you're kissing someone, especially in the lips. I mean, isn't that what the name means? But also because I heard their music is awful. Well, again, I mean, you can't really write a band off as cringe if you've never heard the music. I mean, Kiss could have had that awful getup, but still made good music. They didn't, but I think it's still kind of silly to write off a band as cringe when you've never heard a single song by them. I know damaged Big Cheese on Professional with just a knife and a pistol. Yeah, that's a real accomplishment. Not me, who again, if you again, I New Game Plus with the fully upgraded weapons you get late in the game. I think I just TMP'd the Big Cheese until he died, and the battle took all of I don't know, maybe 20 seconds. I do think that battle is a little better in the remake. There's that part where he's throwing projectiles at you. It's a nice little twist. Have you seen The Boys? No, I haven't. Heard of it, but I've never seen it. Superman 64 ended up being the game that it is today due to interference from Warner Brothers and DC Comics, and even led to the cancellation of a PS1 version, which has been leaked online. Yeah, I've heard there was some internal struggle when it came to that game. I didn't know there was going to be a PS1 version, and I didn't know it was leaked online. Like, you can actually play it. Is it at least a little better than the version we got on the N64? Do you own Mother 3 on cartridge? Yes, I do. Here it is. Hold on, it's in some plastic. There we go. Here it is. It's obviously not an official cart because it never got an official release here in the West. It's a nice looking cart, though. It's red. Well, actually, this is one of two carts I got. The other cart is Still in the GameCube over there, you can kind of see the red sticking out from the bottom. These repo carts I got like 2 years ago, still work just fine. They still save, and again, they're pretty. I like the red transparent carts. They put the game in. Also got Minish Cap here. This is also a repo cart, not an official cart. An official costs like, I don't know, fucking $80 or some shit. Here's an official card I have: Mario and Luigi Dream Team. I liked this game. I only played it once. I don't know why I haven't replayed it yet. But I will one of these days. Though currently I'm playing on my PS5. Metroid Fusion here. This is another unofficial cart though, because an official cart for this game costs like, I don't know, 90 fucking bucks or some shit. Oh, and here's another official card I have. If I can get this out of the plastic. WarioWare Inc. I loved this game as a kid. I got it from the 3DS Ambassadors program, which I think if you got your 3DS on launch day or around launch day, you're eligible for that program. And I got an OG 3DS the day it came out, so I was definitely eligible for that program. And they gave me, they gave me WarioWare, Metroid Fusion, and Minish Cap as well. That's how I got into some of these Game Boy Advance games. And also I have Zero Mission. I'm not going to bother taking it out of the plastic. Another great 2D Metroid game that was on the GBA. But of course, my favorite GBA game is Mother 3. Fantastic fucking game. Really deserved an official release in the West, but that's obviously not happening at this point, as the game is 18 years old and Nintendo likes to pretend it doesn't exist. Beyond just, pretty much shitting on fans who want an official release and some stupid fucking claymation short they had at E3 like, I don't know, 12 years ago or some shit. I don't actually own a GBA. I just own a Game Boy player. That's how I play these games, because I don't care for playing on handheld consoles these days. Much prefer, playing a game on the TV. I don't even know if any of you give a shit about this. I just showed you my tiny little GBA collection just out of the blue. I don't even know where the fuck. I don't even know where I left off. Oh yeah, because this one person asked if I owned Mother 3 on cartridge. I got a random question in my head. What are your thoughts on Among Us? I don't have any thoughts on Among Us because I've never played it. Do people still play Among Us? I don't really hear that much about the game anymore. A lot of memes surrounding it a few years ago. I don't really hear much anymore. The only SpongeBob games I played as a kid was the OG Battle for Bikini Bottom, the Atlantis Square Panis game, and the Lights, Camera, and Pants game. I actually do own the Atlantis Square Panis game on both the Wii and the DS. I hear that at least the Wii version was not a good game. I'm pretty sure the DS game isn't that much better either. Never actually completed either version. Only played a little bit of them and I got bored. So yeah, even back then I didn't really care for the game. The special itself wasn't that great either. Actually, I kind of enjoyed it as a kid. Kind of, sort of. I didn't care for all the singing and shit, though. I actually didn't find out until I was a teenager that David Bowie guest starred in the special. Yet they didn't have him sing, even though it was the one of the very few musical episodes of SpongeBob. No, he was the only good thing about that special. Have you played Fire Emblem before or play any of the games on an emulator? I played Three Houses a few years ago. I wanted to try out a Fire Emblem game and uh kind of liked it. Not much, not really my thing though. So yeah, I'm not big into the Fire Emblem franchise. So and there is a Fire Emblem GameCube game. What was it called again? Path of Radiance. Yeah, that game is like fucking what, $500 or $600 or some shit now. Yeah, makes me kind of glad I'm not a Fire Emblem fan. I think the only really expensive GameCube game I want, or kind of want at least, is Chibi Robo. Uh, I did bring up that game a few videos ago, and someone in the comments under that video did correct me and say, "Oh, there was actually a Chibi Robo DS game before the 3DS game." And there actually were people who liked the 3DS game, so my mistake, I suppose. But yeah, I do kind of want to play that game. It's not like something I'm dying to play at, though. Maybe I'll emulate it on my phone. I don't know. And if I like it enough someday, maybe I'll bite the bullet and get a copy of it. Freeze Frame Frenzy is a Nicktoons crossover where Invader Zim places Nick characters into the wrong worlds. Jimmy Neutron works with another Nick character to send them home with a camera he invents. Surprised I never heard of this game. Was it only on GBA? Invader Zim was never a show I watched as a kid. Not because it was too scary or anything. I mean, I loved Courage the Cowardly Dog back then. So, but I just never really had much of an interest in watching it. I don't know. I saw some episodes as a kid and I didn't enjoy it that much. Maybe I'd like the show as an adult. I don't know. I've never actually tried to watch the show as an adult. I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Only watched the show a few years ago, and that's when I realized how good of a show it was. I know that's probably sacrilegious to say, but as a kid, I wasn't watching shows like Avatar. I wasn't into shows like that, where there was an ongoing story and such. I liked shows that more in lane with like SpongeBob and shit. I remember thinking back then that Avatar was boring. But again, I've since corrected my opinion, so don't kill me. You can go back in time and kill 5-year-old me. Well, I wouldn't exist. Let's hope Earthbound 64 gets leaked one day. I don't have my hopes high of that ever happening, but I would love for that to happen someday. I remember someone telling me that there was supposed to be, or at least the idea was floated around that there, of a GameCube remake of Earthbound, but that never actually ended up going through fruition. That's unfortunate. If it actually did happen and it actually released here in the West, I would definitely have that game. PS1 Superman is a better game as it has a lot of elements. Whoa, chat, slow down. Let me read the message. As it has a lot of elements that the developers were forced to remove or cut back on. Did it still have all the rings that you had to go through? Let's be honest, we all love Kumatora. Is there anyone who doesn't love Kumatora? She was a great character. A lot of funny lines from her. She is a character that definitely would be censored quite a bit if the game ever does get an official release in the West. With all the light swearing that came from her. The Princess Peach escort segment is the worst part of Superstar Saga. Oh, fucking hated that part. Maybe that's why I haven't replayed the game yet, because of that fucking part. Ugh. Escort missions in general. Ugh. Unless it's Ashley and OG RE4, that's like the golden standard for escort missions, at least for me. The only escort mission that's not annoying, in my opinion. Even the remake of RE4, I mean, they heavily improved Ashley's character in the remake, but when it comes to gameplay, ugh. And so many times where right when I was about to fucking shoot, she gets in my line of fire and I accidentally shoot her because she doesn't just stick behind you 20 at all times like she did in the OG. I don't know, maybe it's a skill issue, though. I think it's probably also the AI being fucking annoying. Fire Emblem NES was Japan exclusive for 30 years. Then they decided to make an official translation on Switch. Yeah, that does shed some hope for Mother 3 maybe getting an official translation someday. Though I don't think the Mother franchise has exactly the same baggage as Fire Emblem does. I mean, that's not to say Mother is some obscure franchise that barely anyone remembers, but I'm pretty sure Fire Emblem is a far more popular franchise than Mother is. So Nintendo saw it as more lucrative to give that game an official translation as opposed to Mother 3. It was the Robot Chicken sketch they had for E3, which I'm surprised even happened in the first place, but I'm happy it exists. Yeah, that's what it was. All I remember of that sketch was just the part where, Reggie was like, fuck you, no Mother 3 for you. And there was a fireball at someone who asked for Mother 3. Yo, my friend Landon went home. I'm gonna spend the rest of my smoke sesh here. Cheers, Mikey. Well, welcome, Bother Me None, to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Among Us is basically about teamwork and betrayal. You do tasks as a crewmate. Yeah, I know what you do in the game. I've seen gameplay of it. I'm just not that interested in playing it. If you hear banging, I said this at the beginning of the stream when no one was watching, but my neighbor is getting her roof done, and all the houses here are connected to each other. So, yeah, if there's banging on her roof, I definitely hear it in here. Though I don't know if the mic is really picking it up, but whatever. If you hear it, deal with it. How's your day going? My day is going all right. Like I've already said, nothing substantial is going on. I remember I wasn't allowed to watch Samurai Jack and Dragon Ball Z growing up. Samurai Jack, I saw some episodes of as a kid, but just like Avatar The Last Airbender, I wasn't that interested in it. I thought it was boring. I think. Dragon Ball Z, I've never seen a single episode of. I know some people, mostly online, who are crazy for the Dragon Ball franchise, but it's something I've never watched myself. Another guy who created the franchise died recently. His name escapes me, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. There are unfortunately a lot of cool canceled GameCube games. Yeah, I know, it's really unfortunate. And I do feel like the system was held back because it was a very capable system for its time. I mean, for example, just watch any comparison videos of Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube versus the PS2, and you'll see how capable of a system the GameCube was. It was actually more powerful than the PS2, but it had those tiny fucking discs that couldn't hold as much storage as a regular sized disc. I mean, I know the PS2 probably still would have been a powerhouse. I would have still sold over 100 million more units than the GameCube did. Yeah, sure, but you know, I feel like if the GameCube did have normal sized disc, you would have seen at least a little bit better third party support for it. Because there are really cool 6th gen games that probably would have come out on the GameCube as well had it not been for the small discs it had. Imagine a Mother 1 remake. Honestly, if they are going to ever remake a Mother game, it should be that game. That game is probably in need of a remake the most. I'd play it. Because I played Mother 1 once, around the time it first came out on the Wii U Virtual Console. And I mean, I didn't hate it, but I didn't enjoy it that much either. I didn't like the random encounters, which I know was a staple at the time for RPGs, but still, I didn't like that, and it was just kind of a slog to go through for me. No rings, from what I believe. The PS1 version of Superman 64. Yeah, then if there weren't any rings, it probably would have been a much better game. Let me change my position for a second. Or for the remainder of this stream. Yes, this is a Shrek shirt. I just got this shirt like 2 weeks ago at my local Target. I remember when I was a kid, I used to roll grass clippings into newspaper and pretend I'm smoking weed. The Xenoblade games have some swearing. Some are British swears too. Xenoblade is a franchise I probably should get into because I hear like endless good things about it. It's just a franchise I've kind of been sleeping on though. I'm like, someday I'll play the game, but that day just never seems to come. If Mother 3 had an official release somewhere late 2006 or early 2007, well, I mean, I wish it had an official release, but I'm fine with the fan translation. Again, an official translation would probably be censored to hell, not just for the light swearing, but some of the very heavy. The dialogue can be pretty heavy at times. I can see the game being toned down a little bit if it ever did get an official translation. Kind of like what happened with Earthbound. There were a lot of. Pretty sure Earthbound also had some light swearing, or Mother 2, I mean, in Japan. And, had alcohol references and shit. And, it was quite a bit raunchier, the Japanese version, than the one we got. And, it was censored quite a bit when it made it here to the States. Though I do believe there actually is a fan translation of Mother 2 that, retains all of the original dialogue, or most of the original dialogue, and directly translates that into English. I remember I wasn't allowed to watch Mad on Cartoon Network. Why not? Well, I used to love Mad as a kid. It's one of my favorite Cartoon Network shows back then. My little brother wasn't allowed to watch Caillou because my mom thought he was a bad influence on toddlers. Maybe he wasn't he? Whiny? Some shit? I don't know. I mean, a lot of people seem to really not like that cartoon. I watched Caillou as a kid, and I have not seen a single episode as an adult, and I don't think I ever plan on watching that show as an adult because I don't think it would appeal to me as an adult, obviously. But I know for Caillou especially, the internet has a really big hate boner for that show. I mean, he used to be the subject of these fucking go animate videos where they ground him or some shit, or kill him or shit like that. I'm just like, it's some stupid little kids show from like the 2000s. Not really. I don't think it's really worth it to get that worked up over that show. I wonder what the canceled GameCube Mother game would have been like. Who knows? I would have loved for that to have actually happened though. Even if it wouldn't have been as good as the original. I'm back. Welcome back, Robert. Nice Shrek shirt. Yeah, well, the second I saw that shirt, I knew I had to buy it. Today is Trump's 78th birthday, also. Oh, crappy birthday to Trump, then. May this be his last birthday, though I know it almost certainly won't be. Because of people like Henry Kissinger or anything or any indicator. If you're an evil fuck, you live to be like 200 years old. Caillou actually gets grounded in the reboot show. I wonder if the showrunners saw those Go Animate videos. There is a Caillou reboot show? I had no fucking clue. I remember when 8-year-olds would make videos of Caillou getting grounded for a long time on Go Animate. Yeah, that content was all the rage for a time, though. I don't know if that kind of content still exists or if Go Animate videos in general still exist. I heard that site saw a big overhaul, and I don't know if you could still make the same videos like you were able to like 10 years ago. Even has a different name too, Beyond or some shit like that. I'm gonna take another bong hoot. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Do you think Biden would survive another presidential term? I kind of doubt it. Fucking look at the dude. I mean, seems like he barely even knows what the fuck he is. If he does get another term, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up, dying in the middle of his second term. Or hell, maybe he even actually steps down. I've seen some people speculate that Biden wins a second term, he'll just be like, you know what, fuck this. I don't want to do another 4 years. Rather just, live out the final years of my life just relaxing and, enjoying life, what little life I may have left. Caillou would literally turn into a reality destroying god because they didn't have what he wanted at McDonald's. And that sounds like a interesting premise for an episode, I suppose. Imagine destroying a restaurant because they didn't sell what you wanted. Ultimate Karen. What was that, an episode of the show or like one of those Go Animate videos? I think Biden needs to retire and spend the rest of his days in peace. I mean, I wish a lot of these old fucks in Congress would finally retire. But no, they're so hell bent on gripping onto power, even if they're like 20 seconds away from death. Biden and Trump are too old. I'm just really fucking tired of, you know, this country always being represented by people who, don't relate to the youth at all. I'm 20, I'm 23. Biden is what, 81 now? Yeah, 81 years old. November 20th, 1942 he was born in. He's the same age my grandma was when she passed away. Do you really think someone who is 80 fucking 1 years old relates to the youth at all or even really gives a fuck about the youth's interests? No. But these are the people who represent our country, people who, are geriatric fucks calling the shots, dictating the future of this country, even though they're not going to be around for the future. It's just something I just really wish we'd finally stop voting in people who, are old enough to be our goddamn grandparents. But alas, that's what this country seems to favor. bro's older than my grandma. Well, he's younger than my maternal grandmother. He's older than my paternal one. My paternal grandmother is still alive. The last grandparent I have that is still alive. On top of that, she's 79, I think. Going to turn 80 this year, I believe. Um, in in July, next month. I think her birthday's at the end of July. My grandma was born in 1945, so about 3 years younger than Biden. I'm packing I'm packing another bowl right now. I was on the tolerance break for a week last stream. Yeah, I remember you mentioning that. Hope it was a nice week without without weed. It was fun doing tolerance breaks for because weed affects you better after. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a regular smoker at all. That's how I personally like doing it. I prefer smoking it. Though it's, like I've made clear before, it's nothing I really do that often. And I don't really know if I want to do it that often. And I'm fine just, doing it every once in a while whenever a friend is like, hey, you want to get high? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Last time I got high was a few months ago. Actually, it's going to be a year soon. Last 4th of July, when I hung out with a bunch of my friends, actually. Well, not all of them were my friends. Some were friends of friends. And we went to a park right by my house, and we watched a fireworks show and got high afterwards. That was a really fun night. I was not expecting my 4th of July last year to be that good, and I'm kind of hoping to do that again, but who knows? We'll see. Haven't done weed since September. I think the last time I smoked was January, February, somewhere around there. I have 4 different bongs I like collecting. Yeah, I don't mind doing weed from a bong either. What are your thoughts on the Godzilla -1 movie? I don't fucking know. I don't watch Godzilla movies. Well, I remember watching a Godzilla movie like 10 years ago in theaters because it was a school trip. Uh, during middle school. Forget what it was exactly called, but it was the one with Bryan Cranston. You know, Walt from Breaking Bad. He was in that movie. Also, remember watching Man of Steel, the Superman movie, back when that came out. That was another school trip, which that was fun. And I've heard a lot of people really don't like that movie, but whatever. That was a fun day. Last year I was in a lot of pain, so I was smoking a lot to escape it. Yeah, mental or physical pain. I've heard, weed is can be effective when it comes to that. Well, I mean, for me, it's helped when it comes to my anxiety. Hold on, I gotta charge my laptop. There we go, plugged in. Bongs help make the hit smoother for me because the bong forces the smoke through water, acting as a semi smoke filter. Yeah, I know. That's why I like smoking from bongs from time to time. It was the 2014 Godzilla movie, if it's what you were talking. Yeah, that movie. I watched it when it came out in theaters. Again, it was a school trip. I think a lot of people don't like that movie either. Whatever. I didn't really care about watching Godzilla per se. I just liked the idea of, not having a regular school day and going to a movie theater instead. That was a lot of fun. We didn't do anything like that in high school though. It was a little well, my high school. It was in one big building, but the building was separated into three different high schools. And my high school specifically was the smallest one of the three, so it's the one that got the smallest budget of the three, I presume. So we didn't go on any cool trips really. The only trip I remember the most, oh, I don't, I don't think it was the only trip. Yeah, it might have actually been the only trip I went on in my high school years. We went to it was for my science class. Went to Long Island, Oyster Bay. That was a fun day. It was during my senior year too, around the time I graduated. Weed can possibly increase anxiety in some people. Yeah, I know. I mean, weed affects people in different ways. For me personally, I mean, with the exception of a couple of times, it's helped with my anxiety. A couple of times it's given me panic attacks, but that was pretty rare. Most of the times it really calms my anxiety and my nerves. I don't smoke as much as I did last year because I'm more resourceful with my weed. Yeah, it's probably a good thing. You don't want to develop too much of a dependency on it. Oh, hello, Tim. How you doing? I mainly enjoyed watching TV and listening to music while high. I remember one time I got high at a party. This was like fucking either late 2016 or early 2017. Um, I was at a friend's house. They were having a party there, and he has this really nice backyard with a hammock, and no one was out there, and I was really fucking high. It was nighttime as well. Beautiful night, I remember. And I decided to lay down on that hammock and listen to Dark Side of the Moon in its entirety while high, and that was a pretty magical experience. I know it's a cliche, oh, listening to Pink Floyd while high, but fuck, I don't give a fuck. It's a cliche for a reason because that was a great experience. I remember going to a Bass Pro Shops at a mall during a field trip, and then we went to the food court and bought Sadaf. Yeah, I didn't in high school. I didn't really have any interesting trips. I didn't go to the senior trip actually. I didn't really I didn't really care for where they were going, so I sat out on that. Field day during high school was pretty cool. It was pretty nice though. I remember not going in freshman year, but I went the other years and I had a fun time. There was a nice field that was right by my school that we went to. I remember one year in middle school though, field day was ruined because it happened to be on a day where it was raining a lot and we had to spend the day in the gym. Uh, that was shitty. Doing chores while high can be fun. And I'm sure being high um, makes a lot of things more fun that are otherwise not fun when you're sober. I don't know if you got this question, but have you considered voting for Jamal Bauman? I'm not in the district. Weed just doesn't work for me anymore. As someone who is dependent, yeah, it's not fun. Yeah, I don't like being too dependent on it. That's part of why I don't do it that often. You know, and I'm sure not doing it often just kind of makes the high better because you haven't done it in a while. At least that's my experience. I know it can vary from person to person. I smoke 1.5 grams a day. I used to be a chronic when I'd smoke over an eighth a day. Yeah, I was a stoner in 2017, pretty much getting high all the time. Though it actually was a pretty fun time. Like I've said, it helped a lot with my anxiety and depression. You know, obviously, it didn't completely eliminate either of those things. It wasn't like a miracle drug for me or anything, but it did help a lot in those regards. I've mentioned this before, but in rare cases with extremely chronic use, weed can also cause cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome. Yeah, I know. There can be, there are like, legitimate drawbacks to using weed chronically. And that's why I'm not one of those people who are like, weed is completely harmless for everyone when, I mean, obviously it's not on the same level as like cocaine or heroin or meth or things like that. But, it can, obviously it can, impact certain people negatively. Again, not everyone is the same. They're not going to experience positive effects if they use weed chronically. Fifth grade and eighth grade were the best school years for me. Fifth grade, the little I remember, yeah, that was a pretty fun year. That was my last year of elementary school, so it was a bittersweet year. Said goodbye to a lot of friends that a lot of them I haven't seen since I left elementary school. Just too bad. I'd like to get back in touch with some of them, but I have no means of contact with them. Damn. Yeah, I wish I could participate in the election, but I don't. I don't live in the district. I voted for Swazi a few months ago. I'm not crazy about him, but preferred him over the opposition, and I didn't participate in the election where Santos was elected. So that was a pretty good wake up call for me. He represented my district. Cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome is temporary, not permanent, however, but it's not fun. Oh, I've heard about it, and from what I've heard, it is not fun. It isn't fun at all. But I take it over overdosing on heroin or beating my wife after drinking too much. Well, I don't know if wife beating is necessarily um, a side effect of drinking. I think you have other problems there besides alcoholism. But yeah, I understand the sentiment. Alcohol is something that I don't have much of an interest in. I'm 23, and I still haven't drank alcohol. Well, I mean, aside from like tiny sips of wine, but never actually like had beer or anything of the sort. Again, not interested in getting drunk all that much. A drunk driver killed my grandfather. He died a few months before I was born, November of 2000. And quite a few people on my father's side of the family have struggled with alcohol addiction. So, it's a pretty personal thing for me. You know, alcohol and, alcohol having a negative impact on my family. I would observe a lot of people on my father's side whenever we'd have a family gathering as a kid. They were just drinking beer after beer after beer. And a lot of the times it was piss water too, like Bud Light. It just never seemed that appealing to me. And I do have an uncle on my father's side. I'm not blood related to him. He's only related to him through marriage. Married my one of my aunts. He struggled with alcohol addiction for a long time. He only kicked the addiction a few years ago. He was one of those chronic drinkers I remembered from my childhood. He also was he's still kind of a heavy guy, but he was a lot more heavy back when I was a kid. He also lost a shit ton of weight, so I'm happy for him in that regard. I mean, fortunately, the dude's a Trumper. He is the same uncle I mentioned that has a big flagpole in front of his house that has a thin blue line flag on it. So, but yeah, I'm happy that he kicked his addiction and lost all that weight, but he still, doesn't have the most pleasant political beliefs. Oh, and he's an anti-vaxxer. I'm gonna take another hoot. Cheers. I take tiny hits. Cheers. Drinking once in a while is actually fine, but being an alcoholic is not good at all. Yeah, I know. I'm not like shitting on people who drink occasionally, like at parties or social gatherings and such. Obviously in moderation. Well, this applies to really anything. In moderation, it's fine. But if you develop too much of a dependency on it, that's obviously when it becomes a problem. But I don't think you really needed me to explain that to you. I do indulge in the brew. When I'd smoke, I prefer to just walk over drive anyway. Well, I don't. Well, no one should be driving while high. But yeah, it's been a few months since I got high. But again, I'm fine with going a while without getting high. Like I said before, going months without getting high makes the next high better. At least in my experience. I know some guy who got killed by a drunk driver, and the driver fled away, and we only got caught because her neighbor snitched. Yeah, that's incredibly shitty. Yeah, again, my maternal grandfather, was killed by a drunk driver, and yeah, a drunk driver was the reason I never got to meet him. The drunk driver died too. If I remember correctly, it was some. I'm pretty sure they're also drinking underage. I think they were like a teenager or some shit, driving from a party or something, and ended up colliding into him. I've never been drunk. I've never been drunk either. I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of maybe someday drinking, but it's just something I don't really care for. I'm not in any rush to start drinking and get plastered. The worst I've ever been drunk was when I nearly downed a liter of whiskey. Damn. Drinking is definitely something that should be done in moderation. Well, I mean, same can be said for any drug, pretty much. It's funny how, alcohol is so ingrained into our culture and is so normalized, yet weed is still demonized to an extent. I mean, there's still plenty of places in this country where getting weed can get you fucking arrested. That was 2 years ago when I was slamming liquor. Yeah, well, hopefully you've toned that down since. But yeah, obviously I'm not saying ban alcohol or anything extreme like that, but I'm just saying it's kind of silly when alcohol is can be way worse for you than weed, but still, I mean, one is at least at least from certain people are still is still seen as this fucking evil drug that'll get you hooked on harder drugs, yet the other one is definitely worse for you, but is much more normalized in society. I remember some of the Moscato I got from Olive Garden. Banning drugs in general is stupid. Drugs like meth and weed being illegal, or why drugs like bath salts, K2, spice, fake weed exist. Yeah, I mean, I think the war on drugs is so fucking stupid. I mean, if one, like I've said a million times, if one wants to put a harmful substance into their body, as much as I don't recommend it, they should be free to do so. It is their body. They want that substance in their body. Go right the fuck ahead. If they commit any crimes while high, well, that's on them, not the drug. But this country isn't ready to have that talk yet about legalizing all drugs. But with that said, 2 hours and 8 minutes. I just noticed I've been streaming for over 2 hours. Yeah, this should be a good place to end off, I suppose. Thank you all for participating in the chat. I appreciate everyone who participates in these streams, and thank you to everyone who was here earlier, who was participating in the chat but are not here now. Like I always say at the end of these streams, I appreciate everyone who participates in these streams. It's always fun just chatting with people in the chat. I'll do this sometime in July. When in July, I don't fucking know, but you already know it's gonna be on a Friday, more than likely. So yeah, nothing else to say for the outro here. Take care.